he was just this sort of very loving, very devoted, very morally upstanding, just sort of fun, but in, a sort of steady way. We had a really lovely relationship. First of all, he was just a bit distant and I couldn't work out this sort of new kind of coldness. And then he was a bit irritated with me one summer day, which actually turned out to be our wedding anniversary. I mean, like, you couldn't make it up. His phone, I sort of heard a ping and then I realised he'd got another phone, which he'd said he got for work. The burner phone. And then I said to him, the kids were there, it was the breakfast, and I said to him, can you let me into that phone? Can I see what's in there? And there was only one app on in it, and it was WhatsApp. He let me in, and I could see he was shaking. He let me in, and I could then just see this list of messages between them.
Hi, welcome back to The Big D with me, Buzzy, Randall, and
Ate Jewel.
And this week we've got the most esteemed Rosie Green.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. I have been busy mates with Rosie Green for best part of a quarter of a century. We both work in the beauty industry, so you can't tell. We look like mere children. But yes, 24 years. Rosie Green has been beauty director of Elle. She works for You magazine. She's written this incredible book. She is the poster child of you don't start none, you won't be none. Rosie is the poster child of post-divorce glow up. She's written this book, How to Heal a Broken Heart. I was personally offended when Rosie got divorced, but then I was personally offended. And Rosie basically buys this book. It's how to be your best, beautiful, healed self. And we're going to get into it on The Big D. Welcome, Rosie.
Thank you so much for having me, and all those plaudits back to you both.
So, Rosie.
Yes, Rosie. Yeah. Let's start all the way back in 2019.
Yeah.
I mean, it must feel like an age ago, but also just yesterday. Take us to the beginning of where, I suppose, the birth child of the book started.
So way back 2019, I guess a sort of bit of background is that I married my sort of childhood sweetheart. I met my ex at university when we were 18.
She's one and done like me.
Exactly.
So you were 18 and
yeah. So I'd had a few boyfriends before, but not serious. And, he was just this sort of very loving, very devoted, very morally upstanding, just sort of fun, but in, a sort of steady way. We had a really lovely relationship. And we got married when I was about 28, and we had 2 children. And I used to write this column in Red Magazine for 10 years called Life's Rosie, and it was all about our kind of, funny trials and tribulations and the difference between being men and women, and, what it was like sort of bringing up young children, and, what it was like when your car was stuck together with raisins, and just like all the really funny things that we used to get up to, suddenly having no money and doing the supermarket shop, or sort of, roaring about who watched each other's underpants. So just really funny stuff. And
real life. It's just real life.
So the whole world knew and fell in love with your lovely marriage. And
yes.
It's wholesome AF.
It was really wholesome.
Yes.
And it was also, we even lived in the sort of cottage with the picket fence type thing. And but it wasn't sort of smug in any way. We didn't really have our ups and downs in terms of I never thought the relationship was in danger. But, there was it's obviously hard having young children and 2 jobs and all those sort of things. I never, ever, ever thought there was any question of infidelity. I just thought he would never do that. He was always talking about that. He's in a career where there's a lot of infidelity, but I thought he would be immune to that, really.
So it was a shock when you found out that was going on.
Well, what happened?
Oh my God, yes, it was such a shock. Well, so first of all, when I look back now and followers or readers reach out to me, I can see it's a very common pattern. But first of all, he was just a bit distant, and I couldn't work out this sort of new kind of coldness. And then he was a bit irritated with me. And then
Did you get hot?
Sorry?
Did you get
he got
hot?
And he smelled different.
My mum says when a man starts to take care of themselves or go to the gym or they get hair transplants or they start to glow up,
Yes.
it's because it's for somebody and
It's
it ain't
for
you.
somebody. Yeah, exactly.
So was that happening?
That was happening. Although it didn't really, he was always very big into the gym, but I did sort of notice a different kind of, smells weirdly for me. Beauty editors, we're very into that.
Yes.
And, I was like,
Who's that bitch with Chanel number 5?
And so he basically, he got a colleague at work and, you just get a sixth sense, don't you? And I was like, this isn't quite right. And then I saw a few text messages, which makes me sound like a crazy person who looks at text messages. But, this was 6 years ago. And that was when, maybe it still does, but they sort of flash up on your phone. So literally I just walked past his phone and one had flashed up and it just felt overly familiar. And I remember saying to him, that's overly familiar. And especially seeing as it's someone you're in charge of, that feels overly familiar, And so I sort of said to him, that's a warning, I just know. And we never had that conversation ever before. I'd never felt like that. And so there were a few more things like that. And then one summer day, which actually turned out to be our wedding anniversary. You couldn't make it up. His phone, I sort of heard a ping and then I realised he'd got another phone, which he'd said he got for work. Burner phone. And then I said to him, the kids were there, it was a breakfast. And I said to him, can you let me into that phone? Can I see what's in there? And there was only one app on in it and it was WhatsApp. He let me in and I could see he was shaking. He let me in and I could then just see this list of messages between them. Honestly, I was so devastated and so shocked and so panicked. And I just sort of spiraled into this kind of, just high state of anxiety. And he went into the garden, I went into the garden. I was like, is this true? And he's, said yes. And it was just horrendous. But actually, that wasn't the worst bit. I think the worst bit was he said, so are you going to continue this? You can't continue this. And he agreed to that. And so there was a month of us just sort of trying to make it work. But he was never sorry. He was angry, I think.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't, I'm so sorry, it shouldn't have happened. It's no downplaying.
Angry that you'd found out.
Sorry, he did say that. But I could tell that he was actually still really angry. So he did say some of that.
Yeah.
But he was also saying things like, I broke this on purpose, I wanted to do stuff. So I wasn't getting a totally sorry,
Do you think
apologetic.
he wanted to blow up the marriage by showing you?
Yes.
Yeah.
He knew this is it.
He knew this is it. And then
time.
I think he knew, and I don't know because I can't speak for him, but I think he did something, he wanted to do something so bad there was no sort of coming back from
Burning.
Yeah, well, Tom, in our previous, he
Tom
said
Nash.
there's accountability that when, you're sharing that accountability with somebody else, and he told his sister, and he was like, once he'd shared it with his sister, he had to, it was out there, and it then had to, there was no going back. It was like, it was out in the ether. Somebody else knew, somebody else was accountable.
Isn't that interesting?
Tom was fascinating.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad it was season 2 when we're healed that we had that conversation.
I'm going back straight to watch him.
Because we were healed when we were ready to receive, weren't we, Buzzy?
I love seeing different people's perspectives on it. And, I'm very aware that my ex has a different perspective than me. And also, we're storytellers. So, we do kind of up our...
yes, but this is your experience.
That is my experience.
And also, whatever way you want to cut the cookie, it's lying and betrayal.
It's lying and betrayal. Agreed. And
there's nothing cute about that.
And I struggle with that when people legitimise it. But sorry, to go off track. But the worst time was actually about a month later when, in hindsight, and we'll never know.
So you didn't throw him out? You didn't kick off?
Oh my God.
Did you think you'd be a thrower out to burn the clothes, or did you think you'd be a please stay, I love you?
I thought I'd be a burner out to throw the clothes. I was a please stay.
I beg you.
Sobbing. I beg you, literally humiliating myself, and also didn't feel like I could tell people because then they'd think badly of him, or we would never be able to we'd never be able to repair that. Also, don't want to tell the kids if their life is not.
Did you tell your parents or sisters
family? I did actually tell I told my mum, and then I told a couple of other family members and one friend.
And what did they say to you?
They were just so shocked. I mean, they were like, if this is the one couple that we didn't think this was going to happen to, this, you are it. So, they were in shock too. But then the post betrayal time was the hardest. This kind of maybe 4 or 5 months where he was saying he wasn't seeing her, but he was cold, distant, unapologetic, angry, volatile, all these things, and I was going crazy. I was like, where is the person that I loved?
Yeah.
Is he cheating on me? Like, I was paranoid. And then he switched it around to saying, well, how can we possibly be together if you're going to be this paranoid? It was that kind of horrendous.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't find where he was, and I didn't. Again, it's like everyone does this all the time now. But I was like, oh, I remember that thing, like Find My iPhone.
Yeah.
And that pinned straight to like some travel lodge in some thing. And
you go all detective, don't you?
So then you do, and I've got some reasons why you get detective in a minute.
Because you're forced to.
You're forced to, and also you just so desperate.
Yeah,
to get
you're
to the
desperate
truth.
for answers,
So
aren't you?
it pinged to this travel lodge, and then he was so furious with me for doing that he was like, "That is as bad as me cheating." And then I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was so apologetic.
I'm so sorry I busted you for cheating on me, because that's really rude of me.
Yes, exactly. So it was
Gotcha.
But I was so messed up by that time because I was just desperate to keep it together.
You're browbeaten,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah, browbeat, but also just...
Blindsided.
Blindsided. And also I think as somebody who sort of thinks, okay, this is where my life's going to go. I was like, this is not where my life's meant to go.
Yeah.
So there was an element of sort of self-preservation, selfishness,
I can't. I can definitely relate to that, and so many people, especially for someone with one and done.
Yeah.
I married my first boyfriend. I was 19, first person I ever had sex with. I thought we would die together at a ripe old age, bouncing grandchildren on our knee.
Yeah.
I could not envision my life without this man.
Yes.
And that is what you desperately cling to.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot see a future without that person, and that is what's horrific, having to grieve the future you think you're going to have. Do you feel that was what was making you just be like, oh, please?
Absolutely. I felt like I could, he was the basis on which I'd, could springboard out and do all these things. And also I'd grown up in my parents' divorce when I was young, and I mean, my mum was very loving, my dad was sort of a bit more absent but still always there, and I just wanted this 2.4 kids and the dog and the country house and so I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to go back to this. I just want the stability. I wanted the stability, and I deliberately went for him because I thought, you are the most stable person I know.
Yeah. And it's like, Buzzy and I have had very different backgrounds. My parents wildly divorced.
Yes.
Like, my dad was a secret polygamist for 20 years. I mean, you can't make it up. Wild. He was never really around because he was a diplomat working, but I also I want the cookie cutter picture.
Yes.
Buzzy's parents been married for 152 years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Blissfully happy.
Blissfully happy.
But you still want everyone wants the fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting the shotgun and killing the fantasy, which is sometimes harder than dealing with the betrayal.
Yes. Oh, I feel
Do you
like
feel that?
Yeah.
I feel for me, when I look back on it, I did really love him, but the thing that was killing me was not actually losing him, although that was sad, but losing him, it was losing the security.
Losing the dream.
And also, for me, the idea of blowing the kids' lives up,
Yeah.
that was just so apart. Like, okay, so they're going to have to go through something worse than I went through.
But you say you blew the kids' lives up.
It wasn't.
But
really
it wasn't.
you, was it?
I mean, it's, if anything, it's very generous of you to share the blame.
Yeah.
But he blew the kids' lives up.
He did. And I mean, I guess there is, again, I guess it would be good to talk about it, but there is quite a lot of talk, isn't there, about sharing the blame and taking accountability.
Bullshit.
I think it's right. I think you're right. I think that, obviously, you want to go into an next relationship. I can see there were behaviours of mine that I've now changed. I still don't think it was deserving of I think you should be able to talk in a marriage and say, I'm deeply unhappy, before you get to the stage where you're blowing it up.
It's kind to be like, this is what I'm feeling, X type of way. I don't want to go here. Can we do something about it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Give some warning shots.
Yes.
I think warning
And
shots
work on it.
Yes. Or you part with strength and honour.
Yes.
But I think the sneaking and the cheating is really especially when you've been with someone for such a long time.
Yeah.
So I think, all of us have had our marriages have ended for different reasons. But for me, which was very hard, was I just didn't think he'd be this sort of friend to me.
Yes.
It's that betrayal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that, hang on, I thought I knew you.
I thought you'd be
Yes.
And now
kinder to me in the end.
Yes, and the person I thought I knew and loved isn't who you're presenting to be now.
Therefore, were you ever that person?
Yeah.
And it's just so shocking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I remember meeting him. This is how desperate I was. I'd walk to the train station to meet him, and I just remember him looking at me so coldly, like he obviously really...
He didn't like
He didn't
you.
like me. I was irritating to him.
Yeah.
You know, and I just thought, oh my God, who are you? Like, that's just so weird. And even now in my dealings with him, I struggle to recognise who that person was. But I will concede that I think we've polarised. Like, we've gone into our different zones.
Eras.
And I think he was... You know, I've become more
Fucking
liberal.
fabulous. I've become more fucking fabulous. Literally with pom-poms. I used to just cheer at my Instagram.
Oh.
You in a bikini on a beach. You in a spa. Literally, you were always fabulous and beautiful and always head cheerleader growing up.
Oh.
But you just became into another
You're so lovely. And do you know what?
iconic era.
The touching nature of people like you and our friend Suze.
Yes.
So offended on my behalf, so outraged.
Offended.
And you know, that hadn't happened to you at this stage. You know, like you just think, actually, there is such a sisterhood. And I was thinking about the other day, there was a friend of ours who had gone through something similar, like before I did, and I had no idea it was coming my way, and I sent her some beauty product. She said to me, oh, do you remember doing that? And I was thinking, yeah, you know, I knew at that stage how hard it would be to go through this. And it is hard.
So let's continue on this, on the timeline.
timeline, yes.
So you've got to the point where he's moved out.
So that was hard because he didn't really want to move out until he'd sort of got his stuff together. But obviously it was so... But that was so hard. You're basically living with someone who's angry and cross
Doesn't wanna
and
be
doesn't
there.
want to be there, but equally doesn't want to leave. And that
Was he still seeing the
definitely-
lady?
Well, he was saying not, but
But-
I'm sure, yes.
In your opinion,
Yes.
yes.
In my
And
opinion.
you're at the time you were thinking there's hope, or you were like, no, we're done.
I was just seesawing, so I'd be like, I remember ringing my friend and be like, oh, yes, he slept in this. I was always desperate for him to sleep in the bed. I mean,
you
I
have
was
sex?
such a wreck. I was like,
Did you have sex?
oh, I'd have been desperate for sex. He wouldn't have sex with me. Like, and I never normally want sex.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I was, you know, anything that was closeness, anything that meant we had a chance. I was so, you know,
Yeah.
so desperate for that.
And what makes me angry, Rosie Green,
Yeah.
is that you are literally a dream girl.
Oh.
And it's when these men make you feel desperate.
Yes.
Because I have felt desperate and I wanted to keep things together and I betrayed myself in a lot of ways. That's what you get angry with yourself. Did you get angry with yourself?
Yeah, I did. I mean, when I was in it, I was so just, but it was interesting. I went to dinner with my dad and he was like, you've just got to detach. And I was like, how do I detach?
Yeah, well,
You know,
I think
like,
that's the
how
difference
do
between
I?
men and women, isn't
Yeah.
it? Is that
They
there's
literally
just
do.
they can, and I
Yeah.
think women find it really, really difficult not to.
But I
hash
do know
through.
from my like dating era, I do know that if you like, so you know how, I mean, I don't know, but when you sort of got that pool of guy, like, you know, you sort of got a few guys on that you're chatting to or whatever.
Is this dating era pre-18 or post-divorce?
Post-divorce.
Yes.
And, you know, sometimes like one of those guys turns into a boyfriend and then you've got a sort of,
Roster.
you know, yeah.
Roster.
roster. So, and then I have to say, then, you know, that sort of, those other people then become like your job then is just to sort of dispatch with them as kindly as you possibly can. But you can be quite cold about it. And so I think I can see for him, it's just that times 1,000.
Yeah. So he moves out.
He moves out and then, you know, the kids are devastated.
How
and
do you
then-
tell the children? Because a lot of listeners, like, how do you break the news? How do you break that to your kids?
Well, you know, there's all the advice and you sit there and you tell them that you both love them and you kind of, but you know, I don't know about you, but that in an extreme situation, it's not going to fly in that way so much. I mean, mine just didn't see it coming. You know, I feel bad sort of talking about them and their reactions too much, but suffice to say they were devastated and they still are devastated.
Yeah.
Do you break your children's hearts
Yeah.
when a marriage ends? And it's like, and that's the thing that you know, your whole job as a parent is to keep their little
Yeah.
precious spirits intact. And that's the guilt comes.
And they would say, if you ask them, like, what's their most traumatic thing, they would say that without a shadow of a doubt. I did see this thing that I thought was pretty harsh, but maybe true, which said, I think it was on Valentine's Day, and it was like someone said, to all the little girls whose dads broke their hearts before a boy got a chance to. And I just thought, oh my God, that just really.
I told my girls that, but I spun it into a positive.
No, did you? Well done. I didn't say that to my daughter.
I said, because they're 14 now and they're like, boys are sniffing around and da-da-da-da. And you know what? They're very hard. They're very cool girls.
Yeah.
But I said to them, you have been given a strange gift.
Yeah.
No one will ever cut you as deep as your dad breaking your heart.
Yeah.
So, like, these little boys can come and go, but, like, you'll never be as hurt as the broken heart from a daddy wound. And I'm very sorry you have one too. I've got one. Yeah. But in a funny way, it's Teflon.
Yes.
I tried to spin it, but it's still shit.
It's still shit.
I don't know how to, I'm sorry, girls. I tried.
Yeah. And
I did better than me.
And it is true, there's things about the divorce that have absolutely made them.
Yeah.
And I think they're both very empathetic. They're both very understanding. They're both very funny. They are, but it's not something I would wish
never
for any of
choose.
us sitting here. Like, I'd wish that it hadn't happened for any of us.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think there are positives to come out of it. I'd like to think that my children will be much more mindful of the characteristics that they want in a partner when they grow up. Yeah. And how to protect themselves from being hurt in a way that we've been hurt in the last couple of years. So, like you said, there is positives, but it is heartbreaking watching their hearts break at the same time.
And I think as well, because I've had therapy, because, there is a lot of sort of therapy chat going around. I think they are very aware of their behaviours and why they do certain things and why they choose certain people or why they, like my daughter's all, she could talk about anxious avoidant and blah, she's got all of that. I think she'll be much more aware. And, to sort of spin back to something you were saying earlier, like there is stuff that I realised, like deep patterns that I think, for instance,
Did you marry your dad?
I didn't. No, I certainly didn't. I married the opposite of my dad.
I think I married the opposite on paper of my dad.
Yes.
But actually, if I go back, I married my dad.
How interesting.
I think there's a lot of similarities there of like worthiness, feeling like you want to be chosen. And when you sit, I literally down to his little blonde hair and blue eyes. I was like, that's the opposite of my dad.
Yeah.
I married a Viking. And I thought there was a lot of qualities which are very different. And Daniel was very loving and nurturing and loved to cook for me and look after me and all these acts of service. But there's a lot of things which I'm like, oh God.
But maybe those are the things that you were really attracted to begin with, and then as you grow into different people. I mean, look, you've talked about how Rosie's bloomed into this fabulous person. You have also bloomed into a fabulous person. So it's like, we've grown.
It's a
we definitely have grown. And I think, for me, it's just a chance to be much more sort of self-reflective on stuff and, kind of work out what there are things that I did wrong, and I won't do those again. I hope I've thought about them now. But also I think the main thing I tried to do was create this world and then so tightly control it.
Because I'm a control freak.
Worried about losing it. And actually you can't, like I'm happy with my boyfriend. It could go wrong, and I have to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. I have to be able to, think, well, actually, I'll be okay.
Yeah. And of course, this leads us very conveniently onto the book.
Yes.
In the book, you describe, I think, almost a point now in the timeline of your story, where you are lying on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
Ugly crying, did you say?
Crying in a pool of tears. I think we can all relate to that. I mean, I
cried twice. I'm dead inside.
I cried twice today.
Oh my God. I cried twice today. I was almost crying telling you about that father and daughter heartbreak.
Buzzy and I are the perfect co-hosts because we're like literally polar opposites.
That's so interesting to me,
in 26 years, I've cried twice over this man.
We can talk about this off air.
Yes. Okay.
I think it's important, because I think I ate my feelings, and I think I've processed in a very different way.
Yeah.
But no, people always think I'm going to be like, rah, 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 and I'm not a big hugger.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks I'm a big hugger. I'm not that big a hugger. Like,
Because you've got the breasts for
interesting.
hugging.
come and nestle on me.
I'd
Come
like
and
a hug
nestle
right
on me.
now, Ete, if
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
honest.
You know, I'm like, it's really interesting. So I'm shut down in different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's so funny. It's so funny. People, my friend told me only happy girls cry.
Okay.
And I thought that was the most beautiful thing because
That is-
you process, it's out, and you move on.
Yeah.
Instead of just be like,
And that, I think maybe it's quite a male thing not to cry, isn't it? And I
oh,
think that is
I've got very. Everyone says I'm a gay man trapped in a woman's body.
all those guys,
Yeah.
you know, that can't cry, they can't talk about, they can't say feeling a bit miserable, they can't say I'm feeling a bit dead inside. You know, what's the thing that's going to make me feel alive?
Yeah.
Having sex with someone new. So
Yeah,
I
but
think, you know, a lot of that is repression
Yeah.
and not being able to talk about feelings, not being encouraged to talk about
Yeah.
And
feelings.
do you think that's a generational thing? Like, you know, as like you've got a son, I've got daughters, but I've got nephews, and I'd like to think that they are so much more in touch with
Yes,
their
the gender
emotions
nonsense that we
and
all-
girls' emotions and talking about it and being open about it. And I mean, that said, I've never seen any of them cry, but I've seen my dad cry
Yeah.
a lot.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, and only at a certain point in my life, which
Over
you
dogs or something? Or
No.
like, no, that's very English. Like, dog, have a cry over the dog, but
I don't
nothing
think
like,
he did
no.
cry
Yeah.
over the dog.
Okay,
but,
yeah.
But it was a time in my life 15 years ago that you all know about, and he cried. I mean, to the point that I had to say, "Get a grip of yourself.
Okay,
Like,
yeah.
stop crying."
Isn't that interesting?
That's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it is quite lovely.
And it gives you permission.
Yeah,
It gives you permission.
I think it's really important, and also for daughters to see their dads cry.
Yeah.
So we've digressed. Let's go back to the let's go back to the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Crying on the floor.
Crying on the floor.
I
I
didn't.
know-
You both
I
did.
did today.
Yeah.
Today, yes.
I know that you know you're an amazing journalist and writer, and you had in the process of your marriage, correct me if I'm wrong, your creativity was being numbed a little bit
Yes.
by the Stepford wivesness of your wonderful life.
Yeah.
And this trauma and this awful thing that happened to you was like the dam breaking, and it led to, tell us what happened.
So I had written this column for Red for a long time, which, you know, that was really, really good fun. But I was doing, you know, and a lot of beauty can be a churn, can't it? It's like, you know,
No shade, but like.
it's self-tan, you know. And actually our job is to make it funny and interesting
Yeah.
and do all that sort of stuff. But I've been the primary carer, I would say. Well, I absolutely was. So I was trying to juggle this, you know, journalistic career with being, you know, looking after small children. And you know, I did definitely feel like, you know, I wasn't feeling as fulfilled by that job. I wasn't able to do that job. And I knew, you know, but when this happened, the only way I really knew how to process it was to write. And I had gone from, to have a job that was more sort of suitable for family life, I'd gone from Red, which was this sort of, you know, column, and an old editor who I really like had gone to Woman and Home. She said, will you come? And it's a steady job. And it's Woman and Home, no disrespect to anyone reads, it's not setting my world on fire in the similar way. So I was there, and it was just a bit soul destroying, really. But yeah, when this happened, I messaged the editor at Red, and I really do credit her with a lot, because I said to her, you know, I said, oh God, this has happened and it's terrible. And she said, come and see me. And I came to see her, and then, so we just met as friends, but then she said, will you write about it? I thought, oh God, you know, because at that stage you think, well, I mean, we're sitting here, there's always a certain element that makes me think, are we really allowed to talk about this? Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah.
Come for me, bitch.
Yes,
I
exactly.
dare you.
But- yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. I love it. But you have that kind of, like, part of me still thinks
Yeah.
like, oh, and also you're told not to
Yeah, you're
talk
told not
about
to
it
talk
for
about
your
it.
children.
Yeah.
You're told it's selfish.
It's
you're
not
told
dignified.
it's shameful. You know,
Yeah.
everyone's
Sometimes
gonna think
people
you're
send
some-
you legal letters.
Yes, and you think, you know, to the
Not
whole
naming
world,
any
you're gonna look
names.
like a reject. Someone
Yeah.
didn't want you. You know, it's not
Angry.
great positioning.
Yeah.
And anyway, she said, "Will you write about it?" And we went on holiday, and I just sat on the plane in the middle of these two broken kids, and I just wrote this piece in you know, on the plane with like tears streaming down my face. And I sent it to my editor, and she was like, "Oh my God, this is so powerful," you know. And they were really nice. They, they changed a few things. They were like, we probably don't want to say that. They were really good. And I then put it on my Instagram, and the reaction was just so incredible. Like, lots of people like you, Ate, who knew me and were really sad for me. And then this incredible influx of women who've been through the same thing. And it was a very specific, there are lots of people, sadly, who've suffered infidelity or marriage breakup, but this very kind of specific, very kind of moral male or devoted male that then totally turns, and you can't recognise them, and they're angry and they're cross and they're shocking.
Who
shocking.
are you?
Yes, and you're broken.
Yeah.
So I think they as people really, really identified. And so I found a purpose in helping them. I found a purpose in writing. And then, I realised that I was incredibly lucky to have these resources at my fingertips. I was also in an incredibly lucky position. I have people in my family who are doctors and lawyers. And, I grew up on the mean streets of Birmingham. I'm not super privileged, but I have that. I have those elements.
You have a network.
And I do, that I can call on. I realise there are women out there without any of that. And so I wanted to give them something in book form or, the Instagram that kind of made them feel less alone.
Because it is a very lonely, scary place. And I think that's what we started the podcast, because we had conversations with lots of gin and rosé and tears from Buzzy, not from me. We've established. And it's because people don't talk about this. It's still a taboo subject.
Yes.
And it's still, there's shame, there's guilt. And, my friend, she said something which is completely, she said, people don't want you to bleed on them.
Yes, that's so interesting.
And I was like, get that on a T-shirt.
Yes.
It's like, don't bleed on me.
Yeah.
Is it catching? They don't want to reflect on their marriages.
Mess up my dinner party with the two people at each table.
Exactly. My table plans will have to change. Will you have sex with my husband now?
Yes.
It's like, no, sweetheart. If I wanted your middle-aged, hot-bellied accountant husband, I would have shagged him 10 years ago, but I don't think so. Thank you. It's just shocking.
It's shocking.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with accountants. Nothing wrong with being middle-aged or
pot-bellied. There are also people who want the drama, who enjoy that. And, there are very few and far between. I love all my friends and they got me through it. And the people, the negative people were like 0.1% of the people that were positive.
Did you have anyone who shocked you both ways? Someone who you thought would be your ride or die through this and they just disappeared, and someone who you thought would be flaky who was there for you?
I think, yes. But also people that I thought I would lean heavily on, but I got that sort of drama feel. I was like, this is making it worse. Like, you're a really good friend, but go around and cut up his suits, or let's send a hitman. I mean, I love that, but it's like, actually,
Caroline Hirons.
I want to, like, leaving this conversation, I need to feel less broken than I do already.
Yeah.
And I quickly worked out that, there were some people that I left and I just felt shitter and shitter,
It's so interesting, isn't it? And
a lot of people can't deal with the big emotion.
Yes.
They're like, no. Like you said,
don't bleed on me. I don't want this.
Our friendship actually is based on much more kind of superficial, nice cups of tea and a bit of cake and, what are you doing? Let's go for a dog walk. And if you vomit your personal life onto them, no thanks. And I think that's really, really painful when you're going through something like this to
lose people.
Did
you lose people? Buzzy?
Yeah, I think, and I'm not alone. I think that it's not something unique to me at all. I think this is actually one of the silent awfulnesses of what a divorce brings, is that you lose not only your husband and friends, your family and your future, but you're losing friendships as a result of it. Not because people are choosing sides necessarily.
They bloody are.
They are.
But also, I think, some people, it's quite often if they're going through shit, like if they feel worried about their relationship, then that makes them particularly susceptible to those sort of emotions, I think, as well.
So.
And it is really, that's really hard. Yes.
You become a mirror and everyone's like, oh God, if they went down.
But I have to say, like, I've got friends and I totally get it who are, they're upset that they're not going to the dinner parties and they're not going to things. I mean, you know, I like going to the dinner parties, but I mean, I love my life now. You know, I was always someone that would invite the single girlfriends and the thing. Like, and I just think
beauty girls.
You know, yeah,
we're the girls who hold your hair when you're puking in the club.
Exactly.
We will invite you to the dinner party, and we don't care if you're
a plus one. Agreed. Yeah.
How? At what point in the last, what are we talking, 6 years? Obviously, you've released the book and you've got a lovely new partner and you're glowing and life is good.
Yeah.
At what point did this happen?
Well, I'm going to say thank you to the sertraline, the antidepressants, because I went, you know, I lost, 2 stone, I think, in the space of like a month and a bit. It was, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything. And I just went to the GP and he was like, okay, you're going to need some of these. And
talk to us about medication, because we just literally, as I came in, my friend was like, you've been raw dogging your way through this trauma. I haven't had anything. I've just started ADHD meds, like no sleeping pills, no antidepressants. And you've been very, very open about that. What do you, like, how, like, your GP was like, you need help?
He was, you need help. But, you know, this was like a month and a half in. I mean, you've got to your point. I mean, everyone can have them at any time. Yeah. But for me, he said, and this was true for me, and I realised it's different for different people, but he's like, you know, your anxiety is so high that you're just in this constant state of like, you can't see how to get through this.
You're in flight or fight.
And I didn't find, you know, I know everyone reacts differently. I didn't find it numb me. I didn't find it, I just sort of, you know, I just felt the anxiety dial down and the desperation. Now, maybe it would have done anyway.
No, but it was
did
helpful.
really help. It did really help.
So what did it, because, you know, when you think of movies and you think of antidepressants, is it just you staring at the wall, dribbling, being numb? Or that you go, like, that's what I'm scared of. Do you know what I mean?
It absolutely wasn't. It barely, all it did was like take me down from like DEFCON 10 to DEFCON 8, basically. I was still pretty hyper. And so, but everyone's journey is different on those. But for me, it did really help.
So getting the GP on board quite early on is a sensible thing to do, actually, isn't it?
I think
it's building your team. We were talking about this last time, that women like to strategize. They like to have a team behind them, know what the strategy is going to be. And I certainly got my GP involved pretty early on, just so that they were aware that if I suddenly presented myself to them 7 stone with no hair, they would know why.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
that's a really interesting point, because, you know, especially from a Caribbean African, don't air your dirty laundry to the people, especially a doctor. And it's like, it's shame.
Yeah.
And like the last person I'd want to tell is my GP, but it's actually the opposite.
I think it's really important.
It is the opposite. Yeah.
And what I think is very interesting is how we have shame, which comes from our own things. We have shame around different things. So you would have shame around that, which actually I have no shame on that stuff. But, you know, there is stuff where, you know, like when the first headline came out and you know, I had shame of like, oh, you know, I've been rejected. I think that for me, the rejection was the hardest. I was like, well, as you say, you know, like, I was like, somebody's rejected me. You know, like,
How could they?
I realised I built my life on being likeable.
And claimed.
And for someone to say...
For me, it was being claimed.
Yes, and also, I guess so. But for me, it was more the likeableness. And so I was thinking, someone doesn't like me. And they've chosen somebody else, you know, and that was just, it went to the core of who I was, the ego, you know, not an ego in a sort of, you know, rock and roll person, but it was like, that's who I saw myself as, somebody who was likable, you know, somebody else might see themselves someone who's clever, or someone else might see, but for me, that was the core of who I was.
And that was rocked.
Yes.
So
so you've had to really get to know who you are. Your self-awareness has been put on the front page.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I kind of really had to deal and own that. And I think owning that was part of what these women wanted, because, you know, it was an authenticity in that. You know, I'm not, you know, rolling this turd in glitter. I was left, I was rejected, I was dumped, you know, those things. And that is hard to say, and especially hard if you're a likeable person. You know, you want to be liked, you know.
Could I actually pick up on that? Because that's so interesting, because, like, I have very violently high self-esteem and very violently low self-esteem.
I love this.
So I'm like, so I didn't have that. I was just like, oh, that's so sad for you that you want to leave me.
Oh,
Good
that's
luck.
so brilliant.
If you want to go be with a 5, go knock yourself out. Do you know what I mean? You can't handle a 10.
isn't that
good for you? That is, so I have the, but then
Yes.
I also have the disease to please, and I understand that it's self-protection.
Yeah.
So I have high-low. So I'm
Yes.
very low in other areas, but in that area, I'm just like, you're either gay or you can't handle me.
I love that. I want to be you. I want to be
There's
you.
a high sense of self-awareness.
I like it. I like
It's like
it.
either way, I'm very happy for you.
Yeah.
So I have that sense, or I just can't work it out. You know what I mean?
But
I'm
you
like,
were-
but the others, but I do have the like, oh, why? But the likability I completely relate to, and is that a form of self-protection? Because to be liked is to be safe, and it's a form of control.
I think that's actually totally right. You
Yeah.
totally got it. So, but you were very upset and sad. So you were sad about, or maybe you weren't.
I think I had been so sad for 3 years,
Yeah.
not realizing,
Okay.
and trying everything to be like, because I'm like, everything, a marriage, a relationship is a contract, and I was like trying very hard to renegotiate the terms. I'm like, okay, this isn't quite working. Why don't we do X? Why don't you? So I worked very, very hard within, and I got sadder and sadder, and I gained 11 stone in my marriage. I doubled in weight.
Okay.
So I think all that grief and sadness, but I think I'm like the Niger rage. So you can push me so far, and then
Yeah.
when the nuclear bomb goes off, it's done.
I'm so jealous of that. I'd
So
love that.
I had 3 years, I think, and then it was the 1st of July 2023. Get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
Poof, 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 done.
And you didn't look
Yeah.
Done.
That's incredible.
And then I launched the brand 4 days later into Harrods. And it was just, I was twirling, I was happy, I was crying, I was slightly unhinged, but it was a celebration because I was free. Because
Yeah.
for me, that's why 2 years later, I think I'm now having my breakdown. So
Okay.
I'm like, la, 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 la. And now I'm like, I'm ready for my breakdown now.
Yeah.
We've got the
Why?
doctor
Yeah.
on speed dial.
This experience. And do you know what? I remember going to the marriage counsellor and her saying, well, you've both got very different world views. And I was like, what do you mean?
She said that.
Because I think up till that point, and I'll hold my hands up, I thought everyone saw the world my way.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it really, really... And I have to, the brilliant thing about the contract was, and this is obviously not, well, maybe it is your experience, but this guy, weirdly, I interviewed him about 6 months before this whole thing happened, and he's a psychologist, and he was talking about affairs, and he said, men don't renegotiate, most men don't renegotiate the contract, they just rip it up and start a new
Oh,
one.
that's what it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you do this? And why don't we do that?
They
And
just
da-
rip
da-
it
da-
up
da-
and they
da-
start
da-
a new
da-
one.
da.
They don't. It's a who's saying that is
Can't
in his
negotiate.
yeah in his experience that's what happens.
So
Whereas women
interesting.
renegotiate. I'll do this. Why don't we just try this? The kids getting a bit older. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
It's so that's so
I was like,
interesting.
why don't you live in London Monday to Friday and come on the weekend?
Yeah.
Don't worry. Like, there's so many things I try to be accommodating and try and be like, and then it was to the point where
You'd had enough.
No, actually, because I'm such a glutton for punishment. I didn't have enough because I'm hard. I could have taken a lot more. But because certain decisions which were made, which were threatening my ability to be a mama bear,
Yeah.
I was like, for yourself, no, but for the children,
Yeah.
you're making decisions which is impacting my children. It's time for you to go fuck
Yeah.
yourself. And so I chose protecting my kids over myself. Does that make sense?
I love that. Whereas I think, I just think I was so desperate. I'm not sure how good a job I did of that.
But
Yeah.
but obviously you've got through it. I mean, what did you do in terms of with the kids and how have you got to the point now where you're at with them and with their dad and that it's all happy?
I think writing, maybe it gave me back some power. It gave me back a power of the narrative. I was like, okay, I now own this narrative.
And how did he feel about the book? Have you
Well,
had discussions or legal letters or like
No legal
how
letters.
does-
It might be game on now, Etta. No legal letters. And weirdly, I sort of thought that he wouldn't. Like I just had, you kind of do no parts of them still so well. So I think writing and changing that narrative. And weirdly, when I realised, because it was so brutal, that there was no chance.
Yeah, that's sad.
Actually, at that point, I was like, okay, I'm done. And so I've never been that person who's going to, I mean, it hasn't sort of, but from that day, have not pined at him, looked at old photos, done any of those things. I don't have any desire to get, I've got friends who are still like, oh yes, I'd still get back together with them. No, I'm totally done.
I think so many women are, there's a saying I read, like, men get over it and they party and they have a great time for 6 months and then they pine for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Women cry for 6 months and then they never think of you again.
Yeah.
And I think, do you know what I mean? Like, it can be like a switch.
I think that's true. And like having seen, that is how I felt. And I did finally detach.
Yeah.
And then, it's a bit like you guys are so much, I'm so much further down the road. But in that period of kind of working out who you are, and there is exciting experience and devastating. It's like you're an onion and you've been peeled. You're so raw.
It's exposing.
But it's also a sort of incredibly transformative time, I think.
And to take hold of it in such a positive way like you have is so inspiring. And I love that about your story and how you've really used your experience to just make something really great and help other people and be inspiring to people like me who are like, what am I going to do?
It's a compass, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a lovely compass so that you can be okay.
Yeah.
Could we talk about sex?
Let's talk about sex. Oh my God, we're getting to...
We've got 5
minutes.
minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. Yeah. Can we talk about, because I remember reading about you saying about waxing, not waxing before your first... Could we talk, because it is terrifying, and I don't know if Buzzy is ready to discuss, but your first post-divorce coital.
It's so
It's
funny.
Beyonce! Because especially for us, who've
nobody's barely. My grandmother was so funny. She was like, "It's a tragedy. Only one man saw me naked." And I was like, I love that.
Your grandma's correct.
She said that. She is correct, Grandma.
So what was it like for
weirdly,
you?
This is, again, everyone's different point of view. Like, some women will message me and be like, I am petrified of getting naked in front of someone. In that situation, is a bit similar to you. Like, yep, whoever gets to see this is definitely going to be,
Yeah.
So I wasn't worried about that, really. I was much more worried about how attached I would get.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, so I'm in love with you now. When we're getting married.
Yes, exactly. So I was a bit worried. And I think that's whatever stopped me from being like an 18-year-old and playing the field, because I was so worried about getting hurt, ironically. So I was doing everything I could to protect myself. But weirdly, I then was like, well, I found a new sort of power and a new confidence. And I was like, actually, I can actually enjoy this. I can enjoy sex. Yeah. And when I think about the things that I could have done differently with my ex, I think I was so... Like, when I grew up, I think my mum was just sort of trying to protect me, but she was like, there are good girls who don't really have sex.
Gen X mothering.
Exactly. And there are girls that are, the bike.
Yeah.
And, my mum's quite liberal, but still she would
Good
say
girl.
that. And so I think I saw sex as a prize for, and
Yes.
also as something I would, generously give.
But not too much.
Not too much. And
Medieval.
Yes,
we all have this.
We all have this. And so I really feel like, actually, if I put myself in his shoes for 26 years of having to be the person that always initiates it and always, so when I went into my new post-divorce thing, I was like, I'm going to actually enjoy this and find out, who I am, and enjoy being sexy and enjoy desiring people and people desiring me.
What do you actually like? Da, 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 da.
Exactly. And, there were, I was petrified about the whole, how much pubic hair you should have. I mean...
It's just, you know what my friend said before my first one night stand?
Yes.
She said, Ate... Get your she said, it's not the fucking 90s.
Yeah.
Get rid.
Oh, get rid.
I said, my situation is situated.
It's situated.
It's situated. And I had my first one night stand.
With no pubic hair.
No.
Okay, well done.
It was
But
terrifying.
it's kind of crazy, it's terrifying. But I went to the local salon and thought, okay, I better get a Brazilian or Hollywood or whatever it is when it all comes off. And I got this poor 20-year-old girl who had obviously never done it before in her life. It was a whole disaster. I was like, oh my God, well, this is copy right here. It's like everything is copy. But yeah.
And then, were you nervous? Was it, because to be with someone for 26 years and have sex with a new person?
I wasn't that nervous, weirdly. I wasn't. I just sort of like, yeah.
Did you? Go on, Buzzy.
Absolutely terrified.
Did you actually say, I'm terrified?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Because I can mask. I'm like, let's Angelina Jolie this shit. And I tried to be really cool, and I kicked off my leg, and it kicked a bin, and it was just the most awkward, fucked up thing ever. It was hilarious.
Funny.
Ended up just having the most feral conversation ever. I was like, what's the most, kinky thing you've ever done? People always tell me their secrets. He's telling me about threesomes he's had and And we just had a lovely chat.
Yes.
That was the best bit,
Just
to be honest.
chatting? No, there's more than chatting. I'm throwing your shoes off.
You know what? He was young. He was 31.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to use protection. And I had been told this by my friend's assistant, that anyone under 35, they do not use condoms.
Why?
So, because they just think it's gross and weird. Because Elton John didn't scare the shit out of them in the 90s.
Yes,
that's why.
exactly.
So they don't have that whole HIV.
Oh my God.
And I was warned, anyone under 35 doesn't use protection. And when I was like, could you please put a condom? He looked at me like I was mad. And I was like, no, this is how, if you want to enter the building. And
Put your hazmat suit on.
yeah. And so, am I really getting into this? Anyway, so
You're in it.
You're in it.
you're in it.
That's
So
unbelievable. But that again, I think that shows how things, they move. So,
it was just like, I'm not your generation, love.
No.
He was 31. Very
31.
good looking. Very good looking. Anyway,
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know what should I say? A couple of pumps. He wanted to take it off. I was like, okay, let's have a chat. And we so that was, and then it got anyway.
Yeah. Oh, Atto.
It's
There's a whole nother podcast. I love it.
It was hilarious. Hilarious.
I'm very conscious that you.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. What are we on now?
How do you want to wrap up? How do you want to wrap up?
Yes.
How do you want to wrap up? Rosie, for anyone listening, who is in it and in the trenches, they're on the bathroom, they're crying, they're calling up asking for Xanax and Prozac and everything else. They are having breakdowns. What do you say to them to get them out of that place? What would you say to yourself? If you could go back to Rosie in the bathroom, what would you say?
I would say, surround yourself with friends.
Real friends.
Real friends.
Yeah.
I would say take the drugs if you need them.
Yeah.
You don't have to if you don't want to. I'd say get
From
a
the
dog.
doctor.
From the doctor. From the doctor. I like that. Buzzy's the voice of reason.
Buzzy, bad girl, Buzzy. Not your local dealer.
Covering myself.
I would say get a job, not a job. Get a dog.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
An
cannot tell you
animal.
how healing the
got a
dog
cat.
has been for all of us. So that has made an incredible difference. And, I would say women are amazing at this. You read the books, you listen to these podcasts, you talk to your friends. That's how we progress.
Yeah.
We sort of understand our feelings and we kind of learn how to go forward. And I think things like, that you're doing and things like the book, they all just help you feel less alone and help you feel less worthless and anything that could do that. But, very practically, I think as well, you can have unbelievably shit days and the next day's a bit better. And, so it's realising that moment you're in is not going to last forever.
Yeah.
They are transient.
You're so right.
And you can have 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But actually, and also understanding what you do to your body can have such a big effect. Things like, don't forget to eat and drink 15 coffees because actually that's going to heighten your anxiety.
And
look
sleep.
after
I don't
yourself.
sleep.
Try and sleep if you can sleep. Do the things that are looking after yourself because just the physical body affects the mind,
Yeah.
So I would say that.
Yeah.
Rosie, I want you to come on and talk to us every week.
Yes!
It's just been...
Come back! Yeah! It's our coffee morning, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I think there's a second book.
Yeah.
Now, not How to Heal, Now You're Healed.
Yes, thank you, Buzzy.
I win, go fuck yourself. Should be the title. Should be the title.
TM. Thank you very much for having that.
I win, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Well, thank
Rosie
you
Green.
so much. Honestly.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for joining.
Rosie. Thank you so much for joining us on this week's episode of The Big D with me, Buzzy Randall, and
Jewel.
if you like what you heard and you want to listen to more, please subscribe, please like, please follow us on Instagram, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, listen to us. Thanks very much.
Bye.